Hey everyone, today we are giving a little garden farm update. This is both a personal home garden with flowers and veggies that we'll personally enjoy, as well as we're trying to become a working flower farm on our property. And you know, the farm side of it, there's a ton to learn. We have already learned a ton about home gardening and we've been scaling it gradually, but now we're kind of at the maxed out stage. And so we're going to show you kind of what we're up to, how we're building our soil, what our plans are, the progress that we've made. We're going to show you about a bunch of different techniques that we talk about on this channel. And the whole goal here, like, give you ideas for what you can be doing, how you can be utilizing your space more. I think that a lot of people look at their backyard and think that it's a small amount of space. What could I do with, you know, my lawn? And honestly, there's a lot that you could do. We are growing on 1/10 of an acre and we're gonna be selling flowers, hopefully this season. So in this video, I'm just gonna walk through a bunch of the stuff that we've got going on. Cassidy's gonna give you a pretty in-depth tour of a lot of the flowers that she has been planting. I'll talk you through how I've been prepping the soil, how I'm continuing to build the soil. All of this is meant to give you guys ideas and to just showcase the kind of techniques that we highlight in like a real context. And so hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to the channel. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Taylor and I help home gardeners turn their yards, their growing spaces into regenerative, sustainable gardens. And one of the ways that I help gardeners do that is by providing free gardening resources. A lot of these are things that we're going to touch on in this video. So if you have questions about those, you can head over to my free community on School and take a look at what we got. You can ask me questions specifically directly, or you can post about it. You can share what you're up to in the garden, and I would love to see. Starting off, we're going to take a look at our spring veggie beds. So we got our garlic planted out, our cabbages, we got sugar snap peas and parsley and celery, all sorts of stuff, radishes, carrots. This is just what we could fit into this space. We wanted this nice little hugelculture experiment. And I feel like long term, might want to do more berry bushes or fruit stuff. But for now, we're getting veggies in the ground. Quick story about this garlic. We took a long time for us to move into our house. And so we didn't get to do the fall planting of our garlic. So we were hanging on to it until probably December, unplanted. And then we just decided, you know, we just got to get it planted somewhere. We didn't have these beds completed yet. So Cassidy potted it up. We just let it sit outside for a while to kind of get that cold stratification. And then we eventually transplanted it into this bed. Not ideal, let me tell you, but it's actually growing pretty well, all things considered. It seems like we're going to get some sort of garlic harvest this year, and then we'll hopefully get a much bigger one next year. These are these beds. We've got a lot of compliments on the way that this setup looks, and a lot of, we'll call it, concern about termites specifically. People are very, very concerned that the logs are going to attract termites that are then going to eat our house. And honestly, that is something that you probably want to watch out for if you struggle with termites already. I have never seen termites here, and we have so much fallen wood debris all around our house. We've had wood chips surrounding our house a lot. We've got a good 3 feet between the garden beds and the foundation. I really don't think it's gonna be a problem. Never seen anything like that happen. If it does happen, then, well, I guess we're screwed. But we can also just take them out. Really pleased with how this ended up looking. And I think that long term, it's actually just gonna help furnish the fungal cultures for these garden beds. We've got logs buried and logs as retaining walls. And so the idea is that fungal strands are probably going to, you know, fungi will start breaking down the woody material in the soil and around the soil, and it's going to start getting connected and kind of saturated. And really we want this whole 4 garden bed setup. These are just like 4 feet by 8 feet long, maybe 10 feet. We want them to be all interconnected. One giant organism. Here is one of our last winter sowing totes. We've got our tomatoes in there. Haven't planted them out yet because it's not been quite warm enough. But let's take a look at where we are going to plant them. Okay, so standing here at the westmost most point of our property, southwest. We finally did it. We converted all of this yard into garden beds. You might remember, or you might not, and we'll show footage of it, but there used to be a greenhouse / chicken coop right there. All of this was kind of undeveloped. You can see, I'll go through the process in a second of creating these garden beds. But we took out the greenhouse and we moved it all the way over there. And that's our chicken coop now. We finally got these garden beds in. Took out a cherry tree that was like 9 cherry trees in one. Also, just to quickly recap, if you haven't been following us for too long, we meant to move back into this property much earlier than we did. We were hoping to get in last fall, but ended up having to wait until kind of well into the winter. That was because we had some people who were renting our place and they were supposed to move out and they didn't. They didn't want to give us our house back. It was a pretty bummer situation. They sort of trashed the place, left a ton of just garbage around. They burned stuff and it was kind of an unfortunate setup. But we finally have got things pretty much cleaned up, I would say. We're well moved back in. We've just been spending the winter getting ready to be able to plant. And so that's where we get to right now, where we're actually able to get plants into the ground. And so the process for getting these garden beds ready has looked like pretty much measuring, and I measure with just a standard, like I think it's a 50-foot or maybe 100-foot DeWalt measuring tape. And then we use stakes like this, run string all the way down. And these are 4-foot wide beds. And then I went through and I used our broad fork to break up the soil a little bit. Broad forking is kind of a gentler, sort of like tilling approach, but it's far more gentle and will be even more gentle in the future. But it just kind of loosens up the soil a bit, decompacts it. And then the next step was to weed. And so if you can see, well, you definitely can see that right here, what I'm walking on is perennial grass. There's other goodies in there as well, but that was leaching all the way into the farm. There's Cassidy. That meant that I had to kind of hand weed quite a bit. Not kinda, I had to hand weed pretty much all of this space. So 4-foot wide, 50-foot beds. Some of it was worse than others, but you know, that's a good amount of space to hand weed. Once we did that though, I went ahead and dug out the pathways and mounded the beds. And then based on kind of what we had at the time on hand, I spread different amendments. So IMO 4, indigenous microorganisms, stage 4, if we had it at the time. And then after that came compost or some rabbit manure, depending on what we had. Top of that, straw. And then from there, Cassidy came in and laid our irrigation, and we'll come out with probably a full video breaking down the irrigation setup that we've got going on. We're super blessed to be able to have something kind of already here on our property. Then we just had to retrofit it, which has been a journey of figuring that out. We're getting there. And once we got the drip tape down, we then put down the landscape fabric. You know, landscape fabric is a little controversial because it's plastic material. But for us, it just, you know, you can hand weed, which I've done, but I don't want to be hand weeding every day. We actually can't be hand weeding every single day. It's just not feasible. And so the landscape fabric really helps suppress the weeds. It doesn't harm the soil biology by enough of a margin as far as I'm concerned. Young Sung Cho landscape fabrics his entire property. Plenty of people, especially if you're farming, even the super biologically intensive farmers, they all use landscape fabric. It doesn't seem like that much of a problem. The main issue is just not treating it well, or it's just low quality and you have to get rid of it and fills up the landfill or whatever, and that's a bummer. But hopefully we will reuse this for quite a few seasons. And then after we got the landscape fabric down, then we were able to start planting. Cassidy's gonna go through all of the different plants that we've got so far. Pretty much, it's just started to become warm enough for us to get our heat-loving plants out. We've just got our cold hardies in so far.
So some things we're trying to focus on here right now on the farm are flowers that are just tough to ship, and or flowers that have scent to them, so they smell good. Those flowers don't typically ship well from South America. So with specialty cut flowers, we're trying to focus on flowers that you just can't get. So right here we've got, this is called stock. It's a single stem flower and it just smells like this warm spice. Kind of smells a cool season crop. So we'll just grow, we have 2 successions of it. We'll pull it out and then we'll cover crop here and kind of start building the soil up a bit more. And then over here we've got this flower, another cool season flower called campanula. It's like a bell-shaped flower, really beautiful. As we go down, this has been a trial and error. I let the kids help me direct seed, so all of them are coming up in the same hole. So I need to figure something out here, what we're gonna do. More stock. And then here we've got our poppies. Poppies are also cool season, so once they're done, we're gonna just pull out this whole bed and probably cover crop it, and or a succession of cosmos will go in here. And we got our sweet peas, cool season. Yeah, they're just growing. This is not a great area. So this whole area right here was a wood pile and rock pile for, I don't know, many, many years. So the soil is probably very devoid of nitrogen, but these guys are actually doing pretty well. I attribute their health to our KNF spray that Taylor does weekly. They definitely look a little paler, and then Taylor will come out and spray them and they get more green, and that's probably the FPJ. But yeah, so that's what's here. So we'll do a lot of cover cropping here, try and restore this. Down this bed is my great sorrow. So I tried to grow Lisianthus from seed. You can see them right here. Some of them. Most of this is weeds. But they're just not thriving. Like, they're supposed to be slow growers, but these guys grew even more slow than I feel like Lisianthus is supposed to grow. And I should have just tossed it all. This is what I'm learning. If you don't have healthy seedlings, don't even bother. Like, as far, like if I was a gardener, I would nurse them back to health. But as a farmer, I think you just have to bite the bullet and throw them out. Even if you could baby them along and get them to be healthy again, when they produce for you, it's so far out from when it should because they've taken so long to recover. It's just not worth it. So I'm learning, you just gotta toss whole trays when they're not healthy. And that just happens for different reasons. Maybe it was too hot, too cold. They got damping off because there wasn't a good, enough air motion. Maybe there wasn't enough light, whatever the reason. Some seed trays just don't thrive, and what I'm learning, and you'll see as we go further up, just throw them out, start over. It's not worth it. Here, this is going to be our full bed of snapdragons. So I've got 2 successions planted out so far down here at the end, and we'll have 2 more successions, so we'll have 4 total successions of snapdragons. Once again, I threw out my first succession, just threw the entire tray in the garbage because they just stopped growing. So that was a good call. Here we've got stasis. It got a little chilly, so hopefully it recovers. And then this is also a great example. I have 2 successions of straw flower. I planted out the first succession. It was not thriving in the tray, and I had to go back and just pull it out and plant in my second successions because my second succession is already bigger than my first succession. It just was a lot of waste of time, as I'm just learning. Don't bother with unhealthy seedlings. It's not worth it. So we got straw flower here, snapdragons. I pinched these snapdragons too early. Pinching is when you cut off or you pull off the top set of leaves in order for it to branch and gives you more flowers. I pinched these guys too early and they're still branching and look great. So it took them a while to bounce back, but they're recovering. Up here, we're gonna have a full bed of saponaria. Saponaria is a flash crop, which just means it kind of all blooms at the same time. So I have it just in very small successions because I don't have a way to sell a ton of it all at once. I'm gonna have very small successions, probably 5 or 6 successions of little chunks of saponaria. And then here we have bupleurum. Bupleurum is a cool flower, so we'll just plant maybe 1 more succession of bupleurum, and then we'll probably cover crop or do something else. We'll do a heat-loving succession. And then further up, we'll just keep planting these beds with cosmos, zinnias, logia, all our heat lovers. But yeah, that's that. And then over here, we've got, in this furthest bed, we have violas. So you plant them super, super tight. This guy's blooming right here. So cute. we're gonna wait until they get super tall though. But yeah, so you plant them super tight and it kind of forces them to get taller and get longer stems. So we'll just wait as the days grow longer, the stems grow longer. So we've got our violas. And here we have delphinium. These guys are just sort of struggling along. There's some new growth, some new leaves, but they're growing very slowly. Maybe that's what they do. I don't know. But delphinium are super susceptible to just a lot of diseases. So we'll see if they thrive or not. Okay, then over here we have our yarrow. This is just a yarrow mix. They're still pretty tiny. You can see them. But these are perennial, so all these beds so far, I'm hoping my violas will perennialize as well, but all of these beds are gonna come back year after year. So this is our perennial section. And then over here we have dahlias. So I've got a combo of dahlia tubers, which are named varieties, and then dahlia seedlings, which are dahlias you start from seed and you have no idea what they're gonna look like until they bloom. And those are mostly for the pollinators. You don't really sell those. But I wanted to fill out the bed until I could, you know, build up my dahlia tuber stock a little bit more. So I added the seedlings. And then here we've got lupin. Lupin is just an incredible flower, perennial, comes back year after year, spring bloomer. It's not exactly native, but it is naturalized. So it's great for the pollinators and it's a great cut flower. So hoping that these guys thrive here too as well. So that's what we have so far, and then we can go over to the trays. So over here we've got our cosmos, marigolds. We're starting a bunch of herbs for personal use. I'm growing this thing called apple of Peru, which is really fun foliage. And then you've got your feverfew, rudbeckia, salvia, phlox, dusty miller, thyme, rudbeckia. This is a perennial scabiosa. It's called fama white and fama blue, dark blue or something like that. So yeah, so we got all of that. And then under the table is just all the stuff that I have winter sown, and then some plants. So we're starting to collect natives. So we've got these 9-bark and got some milkweed. Let's see, what was the other thing? We've got some a spirea, a native spirea, Douglas spirea, and then some 9-barks. We've got Pacific 9-bark and mallow 9-bark. Anyway, starting to collect some natives. In here we've got another succession of cosmos, another succession of snapdragons. I'm starting my sapinari on doors just because I wasn't ready to direct seed it. Leftover straw flower. We've got more snapdragons, more dahlias, and then we've got all the celosia and zinnias. Got some personal veg and cress, some lavender, peppers. This is some milkweed. We're starting from seed. Get some nice native pollinator attractors, and these will be food for the monarch butterflies. So I'm starting them inside and keeping them inside until they're much bigger, because these guys get munched like immediately because everyone loves to eat them, which is good. That's why you're growing them, but you want them to actually be big enough to withstand the munching so that they keep coming back. So we'll wait until those guys are much bigger. There's a great book on milkweed. I'll have to link it in the video. I can't remember the author, but it's a beautiful illustrated book. I learned everything I know about milkweed from that book. Anyway, this is one I'm really excited about. It's not looking super healthy right now, but this is black-eyed Susan vine, and I'm really excited to try this one out. This is the first time for me. I haven't grown very many vining plants. I'm excited for that. So we have this hillside here. We had a couple options. We could have built a wall, either a gate wall or something, in order to maintain erosion, but we decided instead to plant things, which is kind of a risk just because, you know, it's hard to keep hillsides watered. But so far what we have here, my mom gave me some of her yarrow from her garden that we'd started a couple years ago. She did some cutting back, and so she gave me some of the rudbeckia and the yarrow. So they're kind of more established plants. I mean, they're huge clumps, so they established really quickly on the hillside. And then we added some echinacea, borage, lupin, more yarrow, salvia, and lots of comfrey. And so hopefully this whole hillside will totally fill out and maintain any sort of erosion issues, keep that in check, and then also provide a great little pollinator hub right here. So up here we've got like our own personal little garden. This sage is about to flower, which is really fun. But we've got different things. So this is sort of part shade. So we've got some Japanese anemone and coral bells, columbine, and aster and calendula, all things I started from seed. The only thing I didn't start from seed is this sedum. I bought it as a plant and then I just divided it. That's why it's wilted. I just divided it and replanted it, so it's not happy yet. But pretty much everything else has been something I've started from seed, which is very exciting. I've started so many perennials from seed. And then over here, so through here, this entire bed is full of echinacea, which it won't stay that way. I'm just kind of growing them out because I needed a place to put them. But you've got all these little echinacea as well as echinops or equinops. I think you say echinops. So growing out some of these perennials here. I need to put in all these irises. We've got raspberries. Here we've got 2 native 9-bark. So this is mallow 9-bark and it's just about to flower, which is so exciting. But we got these from a Master Gardener plant sale. So these will hopefully help with local pollinators as well. And then we've got some dahlia seedlings. And then I planted a couple different varieties of lavender I started from seed. I started purple ribbons, which is a Spanish lavender. And then I started 2 purple elegance and purple elegance and white elegance lavender, which I think is just maybe an English lavender, a standard lavender. I don't know what it is, but we'll see if this Spanish lavender makes it. It doesn't look super happy, but it got pretty cold here. It dropped down to 35 the other night, so that was a little sketchy. But over here we got more dahlia seedlings and then all the purple elegance and white elegance lavender, as well as, dang cat, as well as some rosemary. So we've got rosemary as well. Rosemary is grown as an annual here because it doesn't make it through the winter. So I grow a lot of it because you can't pick a lot of it from one plant. It doesn't get big enough. So we got all of our raspberries. Taylor got raspberries and did a root soak with KNF, and some of them are starting to sprout. Some of them haven't yet, so we'll see. More personal gardens with perennials started from seed. And then up here, I had this genius idea to do what I'm calling curated plant boxes for cut flowers. So it's like 7 curated plants, like pre-picked plants, and it grows a little cut flower garden. So I'm hoping to sell those. Some of these guys are really needing. Look at this. This is a marigold. This really needs to go out in the garden, you guys. It's so healthy. You just see a stalk on that thing? It's gorgeous. That is a happy marigold. It needs to go in the garden soon. So I'm hoping to sell them this weekend. So
one of the main things that we practice is the Jadam microbial solution and Jadam liquid fertilizer applications. We do this on a weekly basis, specifically for our soil drench. It gets on the plant foliage as well. Personally, I found that Jadam microbial solution, when applied regularly to the soil, just really helps. And so this soil, honestly, the story behind it is that we did a ton of work here 5 years ago, maybe even longer. And we had a thriving garden, and then we moved. We kept our house. This is just a brief recap of the story. And we rented out our house to people. Now we've moved back, and we're kind of doing a minimal assessment and minimal addressing of the soil itself. We just kind of need to get our feet wet, get plants in the ground, plant roots in the ground to see how they respond to the soil's condition right now. We're planning on cover cropping, especially those upper beds that have really not been touched that much, where our chicken coop was before. The chicken coop greenhouse had a really gravel compacted bottom to it. The soil was very compacted, and so that's where the Jadam microbial solution is really going to do a lot of its magic. We're going to get cover crops in there. But I've got this garbage can and that rain barrel. Each of these are 50 to 55 gallons or 200 liters. And then I dilute it. I just dilute it to make it go further. And then I add a little bit of my stinky Jadam liquid fertilizer, which is looking great. That's just out of comfrey. Made it last winter. This is my measuring device for my 2-gallon watering can, and this is what I use for the Jadam microbial solution. Brew this once a week. I'm probably repeating myself, and then I take a scoop of that. And then for my maintenance spray for the actual plants themselves, I'm applying fermented plant juice, fermented fish amino acids, lactic acid, bacteria, raw vinegar, and OHN. Oriental herbal nutrient. And I just come through. It takes probably 4 gallons to cover the plants that we've got right now. So I've got my 2-gallon backpack sprayer. Got 2 of those per per week. It'll be cool to see how everything kind of progresses from there. That's the only real fertility, like technical, like kind of fertilizer treatment that we're giving these, other than what we've already given the soil itself. So the crux of the whole program that we've got here, the whole farm, is the chicken composting setup. We made videos, multiple videos about this already. And here I've just got 2 compost piles. You might have seen these in a previous video that we made recently. This one is currently still in the thermophilic decomposition stage. It's at 140 Fahrenheit. And then this one is about 135. They've already compressed a bit, but we just need to make as much compost, send as much compost through this system. So I'll probably flip these both, maybe later today or tomorrow. And then once they start to cool down, we'll get them onto the soil wherever we can, basically. And the whole thing is really just getting as much organic material on the soil, preferably really microbially rich organic material, because the microbes are what processes the nutrients in the soil to actually feed the plants. And our chickens, we could not do this without our beautiful hens. We got 4 hens right now who are actively shredding up materials and making really great compost all on their own. And then we've got 11 little baby chicks who are more like teenagers at this point. They're just about ready to put on their feathers and start joining the crew in the processing of the materials. And so you can see I just weeded a huge patch up in our comfrey patch shade garden up there. And the chickens have just been rummaging through there, finding bugs and pecking at it and enjoying the greens. One more thing that I'll showcase, I need to aerate this a little bit, but this is some IMO4 that I'm making that's still in the, it was 110 when I checked it this morning, which is perfect. The IMO4 goes a really long way. And so I really shouldn't have to make a ton more, but I'm kind of I just want to make it pretty often because this is a lot of what we teach on this channel. I want to make sure that I understand it as best as possible so I can best explain it to those of you who are wanting to make it yourself. And IMO4, one way to describe it is it's just like a super compost. So for compost, one of the main things that you're getting, what I've said in the past is you're getting high organic matter and you're getting high microbial activity. For IMO4, you're really just getting high microbial activity, a lot of healthy, robust, strong microbes. And they're the ones specifically adapted to your climate because you catch them in the wild and then you culture them by growing them out on various substrates. And so it's a pretty exciting thing. I think that there's not enough people really talking about this. And so that's why we devote a lot of time on the channel to just pointing it out that we're doing this. And we're excited to show kind of how this is going to progress in future years. And it has a ton of potential too, I think, really for perennial systems. So as we get those more online too, we'll be able to showcase a lot of that. You can see the babies. And then, so the idea here is that we've really just got this sectioned off, or this caged off section of the coop so that our big hens and our little hens can get to know each other. If they understand that there's other hens inhabiting the space, then they're all more likely to get along. And the big hens won't. They'll be less likely to peck on, the little guys, little gals. They're seeing each other day and night. So one thing you'll notice, and we've talked about this before, but we've got these really classy tarps covering most of our front yard. And the thing is, weeds appropriately cover the earth, but that means that we got to deal with them. And so instead, we're just keeping the soil covered with a less than ideal material, plastic. However, these tarps we've used for 5 years, maybe longer now. And they've held up really well. They do have some holes here and there, but this is just a great way to suppress weed growth. And basically, we're just going to steadily move up the yard by planting into it as we go and kind of get our garden established little by little. The front yard, we have various ideas of kind of what we actually want to do with it. We were going to put in rows, and now we're wondering if we want to just start to slowly build out our food forest and get into some more permaculture design stuff. That would be really cool to be able to highlight, showcase on this channel. Something that we'll talk about in an upcoming video is our comfrey. And I mean, we obviously love comfrey. I love comfrey. It's just one of those plants that has so much, like, I feel like I can never have enough of it because it grows really quickly. It's super nutrient dense. Microbes love it, chickens love it, the soil loves it, plants love it. It's just a great thing to have around. And so we've got some pretty mature comfrey plants here that we've dug up and divided the roots from and harvested from already multiple times this year. They are super hardy. This is the Russian comfrey, walking 14. Just weeded this whole garden stretch. This is kind of a partial shade garden, and the comfrey's doing fine, but we're probably going to cover this with some of the leftover landscape fabric that we have just to keep the soil covered, and then we'll slowly integrate more shade-loving plants, be able to bring in some more biodiversity from the pollinators. Honestly, I feel like this spring, the thing that we have been reminded of so much is that there is already a ton of biodiversity around us, just from the way that people, I don't know, it's like people maybe have little gardens and have native pollinator attractor things. There's hummingbirds. Sounds like a rainforest from all the birds chirping every single morning. Great sounds to wake up to. Spring is just delightful here. It's really great. Super fun spring, even though I constantly feel like we're behind. So guys, I hope that was interesting to you. I hope there was some ideas that you took away from that tour. Let me know in the comments what you got going on in your garden, what hopes and dreams you have for your yard. If you are looking at your backyard and you're just like, I want more from this. It's just a lawn right now and I want to do something better or make it more interesting, but you don't know where to start, you can apply for my Natural Garden Reboot program. Even if you have a pre-existing garden and you want to expand, or you just feel like there's problems that you're facing, like constant pest pressure or disease, or you're not getting the growth that you kind of want to see. You can apply and see if it would be a good fit, and you can work with me specifically. Don't forget to check out my free gardening community on School. We've got tons of resources there, not to mention lots of like-minded gardeners who are going through the same stuff that you are going through and trying out. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, you can check out this one next, and I'll see you in the next one.